Could I have your attention? Could you please take a seat? We're going to get started here very shortly.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Governor Kristi Noem, and I'm so thrilled to see all of you here this morning. Thank you for being here to honor such a special occasion where we sign a bill that will define anti-Semitism and how we can continue to make sure that we're standing against acts of hatred and standing in solidarity with our Israeli community and the Jewish people. We are going to have a few speakers to share with us some history, some culture, some reasons that we need to have this type of legislation, not just here in South Dakota, but across the country. And I'm just so honored by all the special guests that have traveled to be with us today. We have had guests travel all across the United States of America and from overseas to be here, to be a part of this ceremony and this bill signing. And for me personally, it is very, very touching. I've got friends here I have known from Israel that I have known for over a decade, that I've worked on policy with when I was a state legislature, when I was in Congress, and now as governor. To sign a bill like this into law that will be an example to the nation is a very powerful thing for South Dakota to do. So I would like to open the ceremony first by asking our rabbi, who was our very first rabbi that the state of South Dakota was gifted with, Rabbi Mendel Alperwitz, to come on up and to greet all of you and share with you some thoughts and some words and wisdom. If you would welcome him, please, that would be wonderful.
Welcome, friends. Thank you, Governor, for giving me the opportunity to share a few brief thoughts. Today is a great day for South Dakota. It's a great day for the Jewish people here and around the country. Unlike pre-war Europe and the former Soviet Union, where my grandparents grew up, America, as the Rabbi always said, is a nation of kindness. American values align strongly with the moral code given by God for humanity. And we are thankful and grateful to be able to live freely and proudly as Jews, as proud American citizens. And this is especially true in South Dakota. But we can't deny the shocking rise in anti-Semitism around the country, especially on college campuses, where too many try to hide their hatred of Jews behind their disdain for Israel, all in the name of an imaginary social justice cause. As the prophet Isaiah says, "Woe to those who say of the evil that it is good, and the good that it is evil, who present darkness as light, and light as darkness, who present bitter as sweet, and sweet as bitter." And it is especially at times like this, when this hatred is more noticeable, that we are especially grateful to our friends who do have a moral clarity and who do love and support the Jewish people and the people of Israel. And it's at times like this that we must be especially appreciative of the tremendous blessings that we have to be citizens in this great country, and all the blessings that America has bestowed upon us here, where the vast majority of people understand what is right and what is wrong, and that there is a right and wrong. In America, we know that Israel is the West's best hope and last line of defense before a barbaric Middle East, who wish to see America fail. And we also know that those who hate Israel and the Jewish people hate America just the same, if not worse. The bill the governor will be signing today has the power to further support our Jewish citizens here at home in South Dakota, Specifically because we have the smallest Jewish population of any state and the fewest number of anti-Semitic incidents reported, is this bill so important. And if at some point in the future a Jewish child in South Dakota feels more safe and is better protected, it will be because of the bill that the governor is signing here today. It will be because of this moment when the South Dakota legislature came together overwhelmingly and bipartisan to support this bill, with our prime sponsors, Representative Deutsch and Senator Melhoff. The support for this bill in South Dakota has been overwhelming, and we are extremely grateful to all of you. Thank you. Governor Noem has been a strong friend of the Jewish community for many years and an unwavering supporter of the people of Israel and the Holy Land of Israel. The governor knows that the rights of the Jews to live in the Holy Land comes from God, who created the entire universe and decided to gift the land of Israel to the descendants of Abraham and his son Isaac. The Bible, held sacred by billions of people, is the deed and the contract, and it will never be broken. King David tells us, "If I forget you, O Jerusalem, forget my right hand." And Governor Noem has been someone who has always remembered Jerusalem. As you shared as a young child, your late father would gather you and pray for Israel. So as we stand here today to witness this historic signing, let us pray for peace and for the welfare of Jerusalem. In the words of the psalmist, may those who love you enjoy tranquility. And as God said to Abraham, I will bless those that bless you. God bless you all. God bless the people in the Holy Land of Israel, and God bless America.
Thank you, Rabbi, and thank you so much for your leadership in South Dakota. What I have loved about having his presence here in our state is not just his willingness to be a spiritual leader and a community leader, but he also has been a teacher. And he has been very available to me and to my staff for years now. Him and his family have just been incredible in answering every question and giving us insight and wisdom and discernment in every conversation that we have, to make sure that we're speaking in the most powerful and impactful way every time that we are dealing with the relationship that we have between Israel and the United States of America. I do want to thank as well someone in my office that spent incredible amounts of hours of time on this bill to make sure that we got every word right. And some of you that serve in the House and some of you that serve in the Senate may say, why does it matter that the language was correct? And the reason it was correct in this bill and why it needed to be right is because South Dakota is the state that is the first to go into legislative session every year. We are the first to go out of legislative session every year. Many times what you do here in this building is an example to the nation. And it needs to be a bill that is done correctly, that can be model legislation that other states will follow. And the language that we have in this bill needs to be able to be used in courts and in litigation and to protect people and to stop hate in this country against our Jewish community members. So it was important to get it right, and I want to thank you all for doing that. But Katie Haruska in my office spent hours and hours. I'm gifted with an incredible staff, but Katie is a special gift from God to me. Our next speaker is going to be Elan Carr, who is the CEO of the Israeli American Council for Action, who we are so blessed that he has traveled to be with us today. So if you would come share some words with us, that'd be great.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Governor, Rabbi, Kod Harav, members of the legislature, and especially Representative Deutsch, Senator Melhoff. Thank you for what you've done here Katie, thank you. And thank you to the people of South Dakota for making an important statement today that evil, that the rising scourge of Jew hatred metastasizing throughout our country and throughout our world will be given no safe home in this great state of South Dakota. Thank you for making that statement. When I served as the U.S. Special Envoy to combat anti-Semitism throughout the world, one of my top asks of our allies around the world, and even here in the United States, is to adopt and use the IRA definition of anti-Semitism. There's an important reason for that. In order to confront a threat, any threat, we have to be able to understand the threat. That's how you win. The IRA definition is a global gold standard that allows us to recognize this evil of Jew hatred in all of its many forms. The power of the IRA definition is that it includes 11 examples of how anti-Semitism is typically manifested. And those examples include not only old traditional medieval anti-Semitism that blames Jews for every malady in the world, but also the so-called new anti-Semitism, which really isn't so new. But the new anti-Semitism that targets the Jewish collective, and especially, as we know all too well today, the Jewish state, the state of Israel. When the barbaric massacre of children and women and men was visited upon innocent people in Israel on October 7th, one would have thought that such savagery would have embarrassed the Jew haters of the world, even for a short time, maybe driving their hatred under the surface. But no, it speaks volumes that that pogrom, that unprecedented, in modern times, unprecedented destruction of life caused a frenetic orgy of anti-Semitic expression throughout the world, in our cities, on our campuses, in our communities, and yes, in our schools, not only high schools, but middle schools and elementary schools. My organization, the Israeli American Council, since October 7th, has handled 600 individual cases of anti-Semitism affecting only students, cases of violence and of terrible discrimination. This is propagating, and we are here to say no. And I want you to know something. The fact that this powerful statement is being made in the state with the smallest Jewish population in the country is deeply, deeply powerful. Because it isn't only about Jews. No, throughout history, this evil, this spiritual sickness of Jew hatred has never only been about Jews. It starts with Jews. But make no mistake, Jew hatred is an assault on America. Hatred of the Jewish people is hatred of the very values, of the very DNA, of the very spiritual constitution of the United States of America. It's why at these appalling rallies and displays of Jew hatred, you don't see any patriotism. You don't see American flags waving. You don't see people expressing gratitude for the blessings of this wonderful country. No, you see the values of America being torn down, because those who tear the Jewish people down, they tear down Judeo-Christianity and they tear down the United States of America. And so South Dakota, in standing up and saying, no, not here, not here, we are going to say no to this evil, to this spreading evil, not only by endorsing the IRA definition, which Governor Noem thankfully has done. She didn't just discover this now. It's been year after year, proclamations and endorsements thanks to her. But now it's even worse. And so now we're going to put it into law and make a statement of leadership for the United States of America. And for that, I could not be prouder to share this remarkable and important moment with you. I couldn't be prouder to thank Representative Deutsch and Senator Melhoff and all of the members of the legislature who passed this with really overwhelming margins. Dr. Goldfeder, who made a major impact here, the Rabbi. But I want to thank Governor Noem. I got to tell you, Governor, you have shown us what leadership is. Real leadership, principled leadership for America. Over and over again, not only showing your friendship to the Jewish people and to the state of Israel, but really showing the best of America and the strongest of American values. That has become the DNA of South Dakota, and you play a major role in representing that best spirit of America. And so, Governor, I'm here also to salute you and to thank you for everything you've done for us, the Jewish people, but us Americans. Thank you, Governor Noem. Thanks to all of you, and let's win this fight.
I wanted to take a moment and recognize a few leaders here in our state that many of you have known for many, many years, but Stephen and Carol Rosenthal are both here with us today, if you would welcome them, and thank them for all of their leadership here in South Dakota and in our Jewish community as well, as far as education and culture and teaching and wisdom when it comes to the national security interests of both of our countries. If you give them a round of applause. And I know at one point when this bill was being discussed and there were questions being asked and many legislators were saying, well, is this even happening here in South Dakota? We asked one person to come and tell their story and to tell his daughter's stories, and it was Dan Lederman. And Dan did so. He went to work and he started to show that these acts of hatred are happening right here in South Dakota. And they're happening to our youth, and they're happening in their schools, their high schools, and in our universities, and that we needed to send a strong message that we wouldn't stand for it here too. So thank you to Dan and Stella for being here for today, and thank you for being so brave. Being so brave. I get the special honor of introducing a friend of mine that I met many years ago. He actually accompanied me on my very first trip to Israel when I went from the little girl, I think the rabbi referenced, from the time I was a little girl, I remember with my parents praying for Israel and knowing that we had a spiritual connection to always pray for the people that are God's chosen people. I didn't truly understand all of the ties that we had until I had my first trip to Israel with Brian. And we went with a friend of ours that was tied to AIPAC, but his name was Dan Rosen from Minneapolis. I'd like to ask Dan to come forward and to share a few words with you, because he is such a dear friend and an advisor to me. And I want to thank him for all of his leadership. He is the president of the American Jewish Congress. If you would welcome him, please, today. That'd be
fantastic. You know, actually, it's a funny thing. I haven't, my organization has a different name, and interestingly, the American Jewish Congress.
Always right.
Yeah, but the governor is always right. I do want to express my profound gratitude to the governor for her leadership, and to Senator Melhoff and Representative Deutsch. But if I could take for a moment, I would like to really address my words to all of the members of the South Dakota legislature. To put this all in a little bit of historical perspective. In the nearly 2,000-year odyssey of the Jewish people across the globe, since the destruction of the previous Jewish state in the land of Israel almost 2,000 years ago, there's been no greater home to the Jewish people than the United States, and in fact, it's not even close. And what's amazing is, if we look back over history, there are times when it seemed like, wow, it couldn't get better. In Spain, this is a number of centuries ago, the prime minister happened to also have been the greatest Torah scholar of his time. Later on, the finance minister to Ferdinand and Isabella was the greatest Torah scholar of his time. Yet, the Jewish experience in Spain ended with three choices for the Jews: either leave, surrender your faith, or die. In Germany, and we all know how that ended. In Germany, the Jews believed they had found their paradise. only to come to the horrific end. So what is the difference between those places and here? The difference is that America is a democracy, and here, the position of the Jews in America is undergirded by the good faith of the thousands of elected officials all over this country who are democratically elected, who reflect the true good faith of their people, the true good faith of the people of South Dakota. And you coming together here and passing this law in exercising your duty and helping ensure is what ensures for the Jewish people that America can stay a good and a friendly home. I told Governor Noem, she mentioned our trip to Israel. The last thing I said to her when we were in Israel, I remember this, she probably doesn't, but I said, there always comes a time in Jewish history where it gets harder to be a friend of the Jews. My friends, unfortunately, I think we're seeing it now with all of the forces of anti-Semitism rising up, and some getting some amount of popular support and some getting some amount of rhetorical support. Here in South Dakota, the good elected officials of the state of South Dakota have all come together and ensured that America is going to continue to be the same kind of home for the Jews that it has been up until now, and for that I am profoundly grateful. Thank you.
Next, I would like to welcome Dr. Mark Goldfeather. He is the director of the National Jewish Advocacy Center, and he has traveled twice now to be here with us during legislative session, maybe more than that I'm not aware of. But thank you for making the trip, and would you please come and share a few words of wisdom with us?
Governor Noem, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, we're here today because the South Dakota legislature has just passed the single most important piece of legislation protecting the Jewish community in the history of this great state. Since October 7th, anti-Semitism has skyrocketed across this country by roughly 400%. And part of the problem is you cannot fight something that you cannot define. And by adopting this bill, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism, South Dakota has sent a clear message that there is no place for hate in this state. It's true that there are not a lot of Jewish people in South Dakota, but it's also true that there are not a lot of Jewish people anywhere in the world. There's an old saying that a real friend is someone who will stand up for you even in rooms where you are not represented. And South Dakota has shown time and time again that it is a real friend to the Jewish people. So thank you. There are too many people to thank and too many organizations. In particular, I want to thank Representative Deutsch and Senator Melhoff from IAC, Ilan Carr, Joe Sabag, Jake Bennett, Joe Basrawi, from Stand With Us, Jordan Cope, from the Jewish community here, Dan Liederman, Stephen Rosenthal, Rabbi Elperowitz, and from the governor's office, Katie Ariska, whose tireless efforts and incredible skill truly made all of this possible. And last but not least, Governor Kristi Noem. Governor, I was a rabbi before I became a lawyer, and so indulge me if you will. We are now in the Hebrew month of Adar, where we celebrate the holiday of Purim, and we read the book of Esther. The villain in that story, Haman, in many ways is a classic anti-Semite, and he was beaten by a strong and powerful and capable woman. In the book of Esther 4:14, as she is deliberating her next move, Mordecai leans into Esther and says, "Who knows? Maybe you were made the queen for just such a time as this." Governor Noem, you have innumerable accomplishments, but for the Jewish people in particular, we are deeply grateful that you are here for just such a time as this. Your leadership on this bill and the example that you set for the other leaders of this nation will forever be remembered. Thank you to all who voted for HB 1076. Thank you for standing with the Jewish people in their time of need. May God bless you and protect you always. Thank you.
I would Senator Melhoff and Representative Deutsch to come forward if they would.
Yeah.
Leadership matters. And it matters what bills you carry, it matters what you champion, it matters what you go to your colleagues and you speak to, and the speeches that you give on the floor, it impacts people. And when you choose to speak, those words educate, they give people information, and they go home and it filters out into their communities, and it spreads like wildfire. I want to thank both of you for being willing to carry this bill and to put your names to it and to be the prime sponsors. I'd like to give you an opportunity to share just a few words. And then before we leave today, when they are done sharing, I would like everyone who would like to be in this picture to be in this picture. I would like those who have sponsored it, our special guests, to be here while I sign that bill, but also all of you who want to stand with Israel today and want to stand against anti-Semitism. I want you in the picture as well, because I want that picture to send a clear message that South Dakota stands united with our Jewish brothers and sisters, and that we will not stand for hate in this state. So I would like to ask Representative Deutsch if he would come forward first, share a few words, and then Senator Melhoff, and then we'll move on to the signing of the bill.
Thank you, Governor. It's hard for me to stand here and not be emotional, especially being reminded of Purim and the story of Queen Esther, because we obviously have our own Queen Esther right here in our state. Those of you who know me know that I'm the son of a Holocaust survivor. Dad was in Dachau. His parents were killed. Many of his siblings were killed. And he came to America seeking freedom, seeking a land where he could raise a family free from hate. And he met an American woman and married. And before long, I came along. And from nothing, absolutely nothing, Dad raised a family, and here I am serving as a legislator in South Dakota, in the greatest country in the world, bringing a bill to help the Jews. It's overwhelming. Look, Dad. So I just thank the governor, I thank Katie, I thank all of my colleagues in the Senate, in the House. Thank you for your support. Thank you all for your prayers. God bless. God bless all.
Well, it's an honor to be standing up here today participating in a bill signing of this magnitude. Some of you know already that on October 7th, I was blessed to be traveling in Europe, and on that day when the atrocities were perpetrated against the people of Israel, I was at Dachau concentration camp. And to find out that that happened when I was standing in that almost kind of the genesis of evil in that continent at that time, back in the 30s and 40s. And we traveled the whole continent. It was a World War II memorial trip. And we witnessed the relics and the places where so much blood and sacrifice was expended to free that continent from that evil. And then when I came home to the United States and to see some of the terrible demonstrations that were happening on our college campuses, the terrible acts that were being perpetrated against Jewish people, the pictures of the hostages being torn down in our cities, it got to me. And when Representative Deutsch asked me if I would be willing to prime this bill in the Senate and run it with them, I was so happy and felt blessed and privileged and honored to have the opportunity to take a stand. And I'll just end by saying a thing that I've often heard is that evil flourishes when good people just stand by and do nothing. And here in South Dakota, under the leadership of Governor Noem and Katie Hruska, Fred and I and all the legislators here and all the people we represent, we are not standing by and doing nothing. And this bill is a representation of that. So thank you very much for all being here.
With that, we will bring everyone forward for the picture and the bill signing. I'd like the Lieutenant Governor to be. He's always been on. And the sponsors, we would like our special guests to be in as well, but all the legislators I would like to be in this picture. It would be absolutely wonderful if you would like to be.
Do you want me? Yes, please. It's what? Yes.
Got a spot right here for us.
Yeah.
Nothing saying that.
Thank you for your emails. We're gonna.
It's taped down.
Yep. Do you want me to move that for you?
There's the glass of water. Ready?
Okay, so what we will do is we will look first at the AJ is right in the back. Wave your hand, AJ. You're going to look at her and we're going to take a picture and smile. Then when I say we will look down, we will all look and I will pretend that I am signing the bill so we are all looking the same direction. Then I will read the title of the legislation and actually sign the bill into statute. Are we ready? Here we go. Okay, we will all look down like I am.
Okay, let's all look down.
Good. Today I am proud to sign House Bill 1076. It is entitled An Act to Require the Consideration of the Definition of Antisemitism when investigating unfair or discriminatory practices. Signed this 6th day of March by Governor Kristi Noem.